beaten Penko a lot, so if she can get through her first round, she has beaten Ostapenko twice, so that could be a really interesting matchup in that second round. Also got to watch over Bolter. Hasn't had the greatest season, or the greatest sort of like 6 to...
Something is wrong not with the draw itself, but with what it signifies. When Jelena Ostapenko saw Alex Eala's name in her path at the Ladies' Linz Open, it was not merely another match. It was a returning nightmare. Twice before, she attempted to stop her, and twice before, she failed. Now, history repeats itself, but the pressure is heavier, the stakes are higher, and the cracks are already showing. Like, share, and subscribe because this story is far from over. The moment the draw for the Ladies' Linz Open dropped, it did not feel like a routine announcement. It felt like the start of something inevitable. Names filled the bracket, and top seeds were positioned exactly where analysts expected them to be. However, one potential second-round clash immediately stood out like a warning sign. Ostapenko was not scanning for the biggest names in the tournament, nor was she worried about rankings, seedings, or title favorites. Her attention locked onto one possibility: Alex Eala. This was not just another opponent waiting across the net. This was a pattern she has been unable to break. Twice before, she walked into matches expecting control. And twice before, she walked away with questions she could not answer. That is what makes this encounter different. This is not about progressing to the next round. It is about confronting something unresolved, the kind of matchup that lingers in your head before you even step onto the court. In tennis, players prepare for styles, tactics, and surfaces. But how do you prepare for someone who has already disrupted your rhythm, your confidence, and your identity? This draw did not just set up a match. It forced a confrontation because some opponents test your game while others expose something much deeper. Some players you compete against, but others you simply cannot escape. To understand why this matchup carries such tension, one must understand what Jelena Ostapenko represents at her peak. She is a player who once stormed through the French Open and captured a Grand Slam title with fearless, explosive tennis that left opponents stunned. At her best, she does not construct points patiently. She attacks them relentlessly. Every shot is struck with intent, every rally is pushed to the edge, and every opponent is forced into survival mode. It is high-risk, high-reward tennis played at a level few can match when it clicks. However, that same aggression comes with a cost, as the line between brilliance and breakdown is razor-thin. When her timing is perfect, she looks unstoppable. When it slips even slightly, the errors begin to pile up. The rhythm disappears and matches can spiral out of control quickly. That is the paradox of her game. The very weapon that makes her dangerous is also what makes her vulnerable. She does not ease into matches or adjust gradually. She commits fully. If it works, she dominates. If it does not, the collapse can be just as dramatic. That unpredictability makes her one of the most fascinating players in the sport and one of the hardest to trust under pressure. She does not just play matches, she detonates them. Despite all the power and brilliance Ostapenko brings to the court, there are cracks that no one can ignore. There is another side that becomes apparent when things stop going her way. Tennis is as much a mental battle as it is physical, and under pressure the signs begin to show. Frustration creeps in, body language shifts, and suddenly, the match is no longer just about hitting winners, it is about managing emotion. There have been moments where tension with the crowd has boiled over, where visible anger replaces focus, and where composure slips at the worst possible time. One of the clearest examples occurred during her clash with Taylor Townsend, where the defeat did not end at the final point. It carried over to the net, turning into an uncomfortable exchange that revealed just how deeply losses can affect her. That is the pattern. When the pressure rises, her control does not tighten, it fractures. The aggressive game becomes rushed, decision-making becomes reactive, and errors begin to multiply. It is not just about losing points, it is about losing emotional balance. At the highest level, that distinction is everything, because once frustration takes over, the match can unravel faster than it began. When the match slips, so does everything else. While chaos surrounds one side of this matchup, the other is defined by something entirely different. Alex Eala does not walk onto the court with overwhelming power or intimidating theatrics. She brings something far more dangerous: control. As a rising star, the spotlight could easily focus on hype, rankings, or expectations, but what truly separates her is her mindset. There is a quiet discipline in the way she plays, a composure that does not break even when matches become tense or opponents try to disrupt her rhythm. She is not the loudest presence on the court, and she does not need to be. Every movement feels calculated, and every decision is measured. Where others react, she resets. Where others rush, she stabilizes. That is what makes her so difficult to play against. She refuses to be pulled into emotional battles. Instead, she stays locked into the process, point by point and moment by moment. It is not about overpowering opponents with sheer force. It is about outlasting them mentally until cracks begin to appear on the other side. When they do, she is ready. That level of psychological strength, especially at such a young stage in her career, is what transforms her from a promising talent into a serious threat. She does not just overpower opponents, she outlasts their minds. The match that shocked the tennis world took place in Miami. The first time Eala faced Jelena Ostapenko at the Miami Open, the world expected a routine result. Ostapenko, the established star, entered with confidence, a history of high-level victories, and a game designed to overwhelm. Eala, by contrast, was seen as the underdog, a talented but still developing player without the track record to challenge a Grand Slam champion. What happened instead shocked everyone. From the very first point, Eala refused to be intimidated. Ostapenko's aggression crashed into Eala's composed baseline play, but instead of cracking, the young Filipino reset constantly, refusing to let momentum slip. The first set became a battle of nerves, stretching to a tiebreak. In a moment that could have defined the match for Ostapenko, Eala held her ground, fending off pressure points with remarkable calm. By winning the tiebreak 7 points to 6, she sent a clear message. This was not luck or a fluke. From that moment, observers realized that Eala's mental composure, patience, and ability to thrive under pressure were her greatest weapons. Ostapenko may have been the favorite, but the psychological tide had already turned, and everyone watching knew it. That was not luck, it was a warning.
One. How good is that? Look at that. Beautiful power angle off the forehand. How good is that? Quite simply, a stunning comeback set from Alexander Eala. What character she showed to snatch the opening set in a tiebreak. For 140, posts the biggest win of her fledgling career.
The second loss was the one that made it real. Eastbourne 2025. The 2025 Eastbourne Open was supposed to be Jelena Ostapenko's chance at redemption. After the Miami upset, she entered the tournament determined, focused, and seemingly ready to rewrite the narrative. She started the match against Alexa strongly, claiming the first set and looking every bit the dominant force. For a brief moment, it seemed as if she had finally solved the puzzle that had defeated her before, as if the past losses were merely anomalies. However, that illusion quickly shattered. Alexa adapted seamlessly, reading Ostapenko's patterns and adjusting her strategy with precision. Calmly, she turned pressure into opportunity, trading points with a level of patience and composure that Ostapenko simply could not match. Where Ostapenko attacked emotionally, Alexa responded strategically. The second set became a grueling test of endurance and mental fortitude. By the third set, the pattern was unmistakable. Ostapenko's frustration mounted, her errors multiplied, and Alexa's dominance became clear. Winning in 3 sets after a tight opening loss, Alexa did not just claim another victory, she cemented the psychological reality of their rivalry. For Ostapenko, it was no longer a one-off mishap. It was a recurring pattern, a clear sign that her emotional volatility was no match for Alexa's composed and calculated approach. The tennis world now had a compelling storyline to follow, a star struggling with her own demons versus a rising prodigy unshaken by history. Once is an accident, twice is a pattern. This is the psychological mismatch that everyone overlooks when analyzing the clash between Jelena Ostapenko and Alexa. It is clear that the real story is not just about forehands or serves, it is about mental dominance. Ostapenko thrives on emotion, aggression, and immediate reactions. She attacks, pressures, and often tries to dictate the pace of the game. But when things do not go her way, that same intensity becomes her undoing. Every point lost can snowball into frustration, visibly cracking her composure. Alexa, in contrast, thrives in environments where chaos reigns. She does not just weather the storm, she utilizes it, adapting calmly to shifts in momentum, reading patterns, and remaining unshaken even when her opponents try to rattle her.
Battle today, and I think both of us were on the brink. You know, it could have been anyone's match. So I wish her a speedy recovery, and I'm super happy to be able to play again in this beautiful place.
How are you enjoying your time with us here at Eastbourne? We're certainly enjoying watching you play.
I mean, I'm super happy to be here. The same time last year, I was in the qualifying of Wimbledon. So I'm just counting my blessings, you know, enjoying every minute I have on court. And hopefully tomorrow I can bring a good level again.
Talking of qualifying, you had to play qualifying here as well. How has that helped you, the extra time on the Eastbourne grass?
I mean, no, I love grass. I think it's growing on me, definitely. As you said, there's not a lot. The grass season is not so long, and I haven't had many, to be honest. So I'm just enjoying the new experiences and obviously traveling to new places. And a place as beautiful as this is just amazing to play in. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your kind words. We're delighted to have you. Look forward to seeing you in the next round. Alexandra Eala, everybody.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? This time last year, Eala was playing qualifying at Wimbledon and now into the quarterfinals at Eastbourne, knocking on the world's top 70. And
on the court, this creates a psychological mismatch that is difficult to quantify. Ostapenko brings the storm, while Alexa navigates it with precision. Every exchange becomes a mental chess match where patience and emotional regulation outweigh pure power. Observers watching their prior encounters can see the pattern clearly. Alexa waits for Ostapenko's cracks, while Ostapenko fights both her opponent and her own emotions simultaneously. It is not merely a battle of skill, it is a confrontation of stability versus volatility. That dynamic explains why the head-to-head record tilts so sharply in Alexa's favor. Ultimately, this is not about skill, it is about stability. The stakes for Jelena Ostapenko at the Ladies' Lens Open go far beyond a single match. Her season leading up to this point has been a roller coaster of inconsistent form, early exits, and moments where her confidence has visibly wavered. A player who once looked invincible in Grand Slam conditions now struggles to maintain focus, and every loss seems to amplify the pressure surrounding her. Expectations, both personal and external, have built into a weight she can no longer ignore. Fans, commentators, and the media all anticipate a recovery. But the more she faces setbacks, the more her mental fortitude is tested. Now stepping onto the court to face Alexa, Ostapenko is not just facing an opponent she has lost to twice before, she is confronting her own season-long struggles, her own doubts, and a growing narrative of vulnerability. Every misstep in her prior matches adds to the burden, creating an invisible but palpable tension. This is a player under siege, forced to manage history, present form, and expectations simultaneously. The real battle is not just across the net, it is inside her head. To survive and compete, she must overcome the very season that has already tested her resilience repeatedly. She is not just playing Alexa, she is fighting her own season. This is why the match feels different. It is not just another round at the Ladies' Lens Open. For Jelena Ostapenko and Eala, the match carries far more than ranking points or prize money. It is about narrative stakes, about rewriting or confirming the story that has already unfolded twice before. Ostapenko, the established star, faces the burden of redemption. Another loss here would not just be a defeat on paper. It would be confirmation that her mental fragility can be exploited repeatedly. It would serve as a public signal that her reputation as a Grand Slam champion is at risk of being overshadowed by inconsistency and psychological vulnerability. For Alexa, the stakes are different but equally compelling. A third victory would solidify her dominance, establishing her as a rising player capable of dictating outcomes against even the most aggressive, high-profile opponents. The court becomes a theater where past encounters, psychological advantage, and the weight of expectation all collide. Every rally carries tension, and every point adds drama. Fans are not just watching a match, they are watching a hierarchy being defined. Who controls the narrative? Who bends under pressure? And who sets the tone for the future of this rivalry? This is more than tennis. It is history in the making. This match does not just decide a winner, it defines a hierarchy. Ostapenko battles past defeats and pressure while Alexa enters fearless. This match will reveal either panic or a decisive turning point.